And welcome. Please excuse the police sirens. This is a lesson on building an Express application. I'm going to start with some definitions. Can you tell me, ignoring what you saw just now, Node and Express, can you give a definition of those two terms? Okay, so Node is for JavaScript. It's a JavaScript runtime used to execute code outside of the browser. So JavaScript historically was built for use within the browser, and subsequently now it has been this Node capability has been developed, which allows us to use JavaScript on server side, and this is an extremely powerful capability of JavaScript now, which means that it really is rocketing in popularity. Our next term is Express. Well, Express is a library that runs in the Node runtime. So it has helpers to make dealing with HTTP traffic easier. So, building an Express application, let's look at this diagram and see what we can learn. HTTP requests are things that we send to the browser, and they can come through to us, the server, through a port 500. Node at the back of our, in the server side of our computer, or whichever device we're using, then runs Express. And Express has a number of root handlers which it allows us to use in order to either authenticate a user, log out a user, or create and save an entry. So these root handlers are then run through the Express application and give a response to Node, which then transfers it through the port to our end user. So in order to start off our Express and Node, we start off with npm init, which actually creates a JSON file for our Node application, and we can leave that without any other comments, so we press enter for each of those. Then we can see our npm install Express. So we can install Express, and that then starts the Express packages, number of modules, and also a dependency, which is stored in our package.json, a little file which tells us what this, all the key points for our program. So let's look a bit more detail at the file structure. We've got our node modules and our package.json. So the node modules have been created by the Express, and they should be put in a git ignore and then created on the computer if the person is running it from their own server. And also we then have our package.json, which is in the root folder. I quite like the American terms root and route rather than the British use of root and root, because route really shows us the routes. Now here we have a route in the American terminology, which is our home route. Let's look in a bit more detail at this file index.js, which is actually creating our routes. So we require Express. Express is the library which we're using, of course, for our HTTP requests. And we also start a constant called app, which is an instance of Express. So we have a series of commands here, which is useful to look in more detail. App is our Express object. Get is the method that will be used to the HTTP request for our Express application, and then we have our let's look in a bit more detail. Then we have our home parameter, and also a series of requests and responses, which are then given back to our user. We'll look at that in more detail, but let's look a bit more at these HTTP requests. We have app.get.post, put, delete, and patch. Each of those in turn mean get information, send information, update all the properties of something, delete something, or update one or two properties of something. For patch and get, post, put, delete, patch, respectively. So let's look at this in practice with this particular index.js, which we're calling for our routes. So this is the home page, and we have a request and a response object, which are included as a kind of block function within the app.get request. Then we have our res.send, and we're sending a little bit of an object here, or a kind of JSON object almost. It's almost a hash, isn't it, really, with hi and there. So this sends JSON back to the user. That is really also made possible by app.listen, which allows the server to listen, our Express server, to listen on port 5000 in this case, not 500. So localhost 5000, and then we see hi there on the page. So that's the magic of the internet. Well, let's return to how this is working in detail. So we build an Express application by Express is handling our HTTP requests. We come through 5,000 in this case, 5,000 or 500, it doesn't really matter. Then Node on the background runs through to Express, and we have our various route handlers which we use to interact with the user. Then we can use those route handlers to give a response through Node back to the user. So I hope you found this useful, and I look forward to our next video coming up soon.